What up, y'all? How's it going? Today's our Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 o'clock Central stream with Bookmap. Appreciate y'all taking the time to hang out with us. Before we get started, I will read the disclaimer and get rolling. Material information presentation is for educational or entertainment purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice or recommendations. Any and all statements made on this channel are for the sole opinions of Options Millionaire and should not be taken as financial advice. No financial decision should be made based on the materials shown here on this channel. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Any investor could potentially lose all or more of the initial investment. Risk capital is money that can be lost without jeopardizing one's financial security. Nor lifestyle. Only risk capital should be used for trading, and only those with sufficient risk capital should consider trading. Past performances are not necessarily indicative of future results. Trading is one of the riskiest and most difficult tasks when undertaken must be approached with extreme caution. Do not invest any money which you cannot afford to lose. And now we'll get started. So, we have another V recovery with a beautiful bounce in the 15-minute shifted algorithm right at 10:30 and right at key supports. A lot to take away from this. We see on the 15-minute charts, or on the 5-minute chart starting, is that the sellers brought it down with very little buy volume, and then immediately the buyer algorithm switched, and we V recovered. We did it at a key pivot. You see that the S3 is a pivotal level. We did it right at European Open, which is European close, which is a London cycle. As the European markets close right at 10:30, the next algorithm cycle begins and upwards. That's why it's very important to track time frames as well. In addition to that, we have a dissipation of sellers volume into support, and then finally the buyers volume step in. And we talked about that going down, is that the whole intent here is the auction. We have to auction lower to determine where the buyers want to step in, and we found it. The buyer volume stepped in right at S3 and transacted higher. Now we pivoted around S1. You see we spent about half hour at S1 before transacting lower and then bouncing back up, and now we're coming back to S1. Since then, we have just been steadily green. Just as heavy as we were this morning, we are equally as green now. Right back up to high of the day, right back through major pivots, and up into the 1 o'clock time frame here. So we'll track this thing to go forward and see how this thing wants to make a move. Let's see what tech is doing here. So tech is doing the same thing, consolidating around 15,200. And let's take a look over to the daily chart. And what do we have? The daily chart, we have a gap down on SPY with a nice little hammer here with a very light volume so far. You know, the holiday volume is still very much here, and it's very weird to see a pretty strong trend down day on such light volume. Normally, especially the initiations of a sell day after a big green move, such as we've had since March, it's usually initiated through some sort of selling climax and high volume. This is a holiday week, a very, very shallow day in terms of holiday volume. So the buyers were very easily, with very little effort, able to step in and hammer this candle back up to 439.3. That's the daily chart. And still right now you see on the green that the SPY is just on a complete V recovery, most likely going to back up to the pivot of 139.6. Tech is doing the same thing. In terms of the watch list, we have all red still. Microsoft is up 1%. Apple is doing its best to come back to green. They are only down 0.17 after being heavily down. But every candle is higher and higher. It's the exact opposite of what happened here. Every candle was lower. Now every candle is higher. Right back to S1, right at the time frame, right at the levels. So excellent example of plotting key levels in the market in times right here. $442, very slow day, very slow day. The price action is about a 20-point range, but it's taken hours to make these moves up. So great day for futures. If you want to plan on a directional trade with futures, it's great for it. Options aren't paying as good as they normally would. You can still make some good money on options, but it's not as quick as normal days because it is moving so slow. But obviously the algorithms are key to go to back to S1 here. If this thing hammers, closes green, then I would expect tomorrow is either going to be a green day or a doji if this thing hammers all the way back up going into Friday. Nasdaq still heading higher. SPY still heading higher. Let's take a look at Bookmap. Bookmap has liquidity shifted 44.45 and 44.50. The 44.40 level was the first indication to go higher. As we move down, you saw them put on 44.40, and we're going to come all the way back here. On this move down, we transacted 44.20, which was our main target to the downside. We transacted that under a substantial amount of icebergs, and you see the 44.40 starting to come on and off, and then they put it on top here, and of course we transacted through that. You see all the other levels come on, and now it looks like 44.45 and then 44.50 is now we're going even higher. Now buyer's volume is starting to wane off here, just like it did on the upside, and it's doing it right as we enter into S1. So that's why I think S1 is the target here, also high of the day. Things are going very, very strong here, straight up. What's up, TK? How you doing, Steph? Annie? Welcome, welcome. Do I use MACD? I used to use it back in the bull market, but I don't use it in this bear market. No, it's not. You can't really use those on a volatile market, in my opinion. I have a 300 price target on Tesla with 500 shares open. Well, in my opinion, tech has started to show signs of distribution. Now Tesla has been a catalyst-driven name, especially with their production numbers they released a couple of days ago, and they had that big, massive day. So if there is going to be a name that's going to pop up even more, it'll be Tesla, especially with their production numbers. And then, of course, keep an eye on Meta as well. Don't slouch on Meta. If Meta puts up any kind of numbers with this new Threads thing they announced, then we could see some phenomenal green on Meta as well, even after what they've done since October. I mean, October, they're up, what, 200, 300%? It's crazy. But if their Threads comes out and is widely accepted with some good numbers, then that one, as well as Tesla, can be some good runners. From a charting perspective, both of those charts are ridiculous to analyze, but from a catalyst perspective, there could be a lot of upside momentum for both of those names. 44.45 here on liquidity shift up to 50. Nasdaq is down a little bit after transacting this 15,220 level. So the Nasdaq is not quite as strong as ES&P here. Keep an eye on both of those. Nasdaq is a pretty light liquidity environment at the moment. Nasdaq, ES just wiped out a lot of different icebergs on the way up here, up to 44.45. But what are we looking at here? On the way down, I'm going to switch over to the 15 minutes so you can see the macro view here. On the way down, we saw a decrease in volume into S3, and then the buyers flipped over and keyed the algorithms back up. And on the 15-minute chart is very binary, obviously. All red, all green. But now the buy volume is starting to reach its pivot with volume as well into S1. So it's doing it at where we expect, and after a volume decrease here, we could expect some sort of consolidation or rejection here at S1, just like we saw the bounce at S3. It's all about monitoring volume, and it's all about monitoring pivots. Price action in volume, baby. Otherwise known as volume price analysis. ES still heading higher. S&P, you see the SPY still bidding up just like it did last time. This exact opposite right up here. So I would not look for any changes until we transact through S1. XLF is still heading higher. Microsoft is still heading higher. Apple still heading higher. Amazon is holding 128.4, and the VIX comes all the way off. The VIX has dropped from 1710 to 1570. They were up 20%. Now the VIX is only up 10%, so they cut their gain in half there. It's funny how their algorithms flipped. Spike in volume, not yet. So we'll still have a dissipation in volume here. So I see your chart volume is slowing down. When or what could signal you for another leg up? So obviously we're not getting any consolidation. Everything just like this morning, straight down, it's straight up. So you can't really base this on consolidation. This type of algorithmic move is obviously bid the market up, sell it off, and then bid the market up back into S1. So I have to rely on my charting and volume to decide where the market wants to go with this. So with the volume coming off here, as we approach S1, I need to see how we'll react on a touch of S1 and do we get a spike in volume. If we get a spike in volume with the top wick, I would look for another move back down and a couple of little W type move or a reverse N type move here, or just a simple retracement otherwise. So I need to see based on S1, based on the volume, what this thing's going to do. SPY is bidding up again, going to another afternoon high, straight up, as we're going on 2 hours straight of buying after 4 hours straight of selling. I'm watching for any kind of liquidity shift. Right now, the main target is 44.45. After that, it's 44.50, which most likely I will think S1 will be breached. I put a lot of emphasis on transacting 44.20 on ES, and we did. We actually got down to 44.1950, 2 ticks within 44.20. We transacted that and bounced. And if you look on Bookmap, what made that such a confidence bounce off 44.20 is that we dipped down into 44.20, and look, as we came down, you saw the liquidity all the way down, but they'd stopped at 44.20. They did not add anything down to 44.20. So they came down, transacted, hovered around here for a couple of potatoes, and then we bounced back up. Now they put up to 44.50, and they're not adding anything higher. There's nothing up here. It's just a vast expanse of nothingness. So let's watch 44.45. It'll come up 44.50, which will put us into S1 here, and watch from there. XLF, strong recovery so far. NASDAQ still hovering around the 15,217. Not a lot of movement here on NASDAQ relative to the S&P. $44.50 on deck. $44.43 right into $44.45. Watching for any kind of other icebergs. It's been a very large iceberg day today. So, but this is my last target here from 45 up to 50. Meanwhile, Microsoft just put another high of the day, and it's just absolutely rocketing. Amazon is about to, and Apple is 191.5. NASDAQ is buying right on back up as well, and about to put a new high of the day in. There goes NASDAQ up even more into their top liquidity, and ES is making its move, 44.45. Do you have the next pivot on NASDAQ that you might share? Yeah, those I share for my tier 2 crew. I've got that for them. They've worked out. It's been a good day for them. ES is right on back up to 44.46. High of the day this morning is 44.46 on the money. That's the opening candle, and we're right under it. So right under 44.45, 44.46 is the high of the day. And 44.50 would put us at a new high of the day, back into consolidation for pre-market. Right into S1 here. If this thing hammers today, like I said, green or doji tomorrow. So we need, if we have any hopes of going down tomorrow into next week, the sellers have got to hold. Because a low volume sell-off like this that has such a strong buyer's response, not good. Unless you're looking for upside, of course, then it's really good. I need to take a look at one more thing. Daily chart. Meta. No. So, in my opinion, if you're looking at something like Meta, anywhere between 323 and 310, I'd say 305. So 323 and 305, which is about a 15-point range, that is prime time rejection area for Meta. So if you're looking for them, you've got the gap fill from earnings back on 2022, which provided a lot of sell pressure. And you've got the main pivot from the post-corona recovery of about 306. So right in that range, that Meta, the buyers are going to have their work cut out for them. Now, if they come out and post good numbers with this new Threads thing and destroy Twitter, then there's no telling how high that thing can go. Is that your indicator, my levels? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Bob Lablock created it for me, and I post my numbers into it. S&P still putting on green candles. Nothing can close red so far. The exact opposite of this morning. Let's see. NASDAQ is still going up as well. Rocketing at the moment. Very slow stuff, though. Regardless of the trend, it's very slow. So it's a good day to put on a futures trade and set a stop and take your hands off. Not as fun as normal trends, that's for sure. Another high of the afternoon there, and we're coming up to attack the high of the day, 44.46. 305 and 323. That's the range that's a rejection range for Meta. There we go. ES pushing up even higher into high of the day, as is NASDAQ. VIX is still coming off. Microsoft popped again. XLF is up. And right into the 44.45 liquidity first touch right there. Absorption. We have another iceberg. Top target 44.50. Nothing else being added. Where do you rank Zuckerberg as far as top CEOs? Is he your top 20 or top 10 or top 20, none of the above? I mean, I do not like Facebook product, of course. He's definitely a visionary. He created Facebook that exploded social media. I don't know. Meta Universe obviously was a flop. So far, at least. Blasphemy. I do have their, whatchamacallit, their Quest, as we've talked about. All right. So NASDAQ probably targeting 15,240. They do have this 15,280 on to complete the V recovery. Another 20 points into tomorrow would completely undo the imbalance. Now, the imbalance, if you want to talk about that, I do not expect an imbalance to be filled today. But if tomorrow, if like I've said, if this little checkmark recovery holds, now tomorrow, I would say one or two things: Doji or Green Day. If we go Green Day, we have the imbalance at 44.6725. That would be my upside target, because that would fill the initiation of the imbalance into this pre-market. But you want to be on the right side of the algorithms, that's for sure. Case in point, right here. Are you in on BABA? If not, when would you consider? I've got a volume alert on BABA. And then once I have that volume alert, I'll start babbling on about BABA. I have not gotten that yet. I want to jump into about a 90. I want to jump into about a 3 to 4 week dated call, priced in anywhere between 90 and 92 strike. But I will not enter that until I get the sign of accumulation. Because here's the deal: as attractive as calls look right now, without a sign of accumulation after a 6-time bounce at 83, eventually the sellers are gonna transact this lower, because this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th, 8th bounce at 83 for BABA. And eventually, if the sellers keep testing that level, it will fail and go lower. So until I see signs of accumulation with a high volume spike of 20 million or more on the daily, it's front running calls, and you're going to risk having this thing wiped down to 79 or 77 and just destroying your calls. So once I see the signs of accumulation, I'll take a 90 to 92 strike on BABA and we'll go forth and conquer. Hey, look, top wick right off S1. Yeah. Actually, the Meta Horizons suck hard, but the device itself is awesome. Interesting. Question that I'm pondering: even though all the signs don't point to a traditional bull market, with all these various V recoveries, doesn't it show some resilience in the market? Absolutely it does. This makes a good buy the dip PCS environment. Yep. 100% with you on that one. That's why I try not to have too much executable discussion on that, because there's still plenty of buy the dip opportunities. $15,528. So we do have a little bit of rejection there, right at S1, just like we bounced at S3. And notice that although we have pivots otherwise, those are just kind of attention pivots, and we have the macro level situated. That's why we have R2, consolidate. We have S1, consolidate. And in rejection, we have S3, pivot. So the significant levels are the key ones to pay attention to at these levels. So keep an eye here at S1 is how the market wants to react to S1. Am I trading or just streaming? Both. I'm octopus arming a couple of different things. I got lobster arms, and octopus or lobster eye and octopus arms, all that stuff. All right, little green move down here. Meta is falling. Meta just put a new low of the day in, on down. Collected my gains on the Meta PCS yesterday. Nice, Mr. 50. Good exit. So this is the first week in a number of months that I have not put on any short premium. And I mean, we'll see how that goes, but just wasn't feeling it this week. Ooh, big red on NASDAQ. Look at that. Bring that thing back down as Microsoft plunges. Meta plunges. So, we came up, just tapped it. We could not fill this. So, another trapped up here, another trap up here, not to fill a 12,240, and we dropped 40 points right out of the gate here. Or 30 points. Let me do some basic arithmetic. Carry the one. ES came up and tapped 44.45, did not fill his 1600 iceberg. That's still an active iceberg. On down, maybe refresh to 37 or so off of S1 here. That's funny. Just saw a tweet that says, I survived the 2-hour crash of July 6th, 2023. Isn't that correct? What is that, Meta? Yeah, so that's the imbalance. That's what I was talking about, where I've got my pivots between 305 and 323. That 323 is going to initiate the fill from the earnings report back last year. And that'll be a beautiful zone to reject. All right, a little bit of red here. Nice little red action. Reject right off of S1. Isn't that nice? SPX currently trading 44.06. NASDAQ's coming off, Microsoft is coming off, so tech is feeling a little bit of pressure here along with ES, rejection off S1. This is on the 15-minute, mind you. These are 15-minute candles. We have an influx of volume with a top wick, red candles on down. ES is coming down, NASDAQ is coming down, all the way down. Looking beautiful, looking beautiful. Meta's going to become an oil company because how deep it's going to drill. Yeah. Whoop, 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 whoop. Nice. I like it. I looked in the weekly brief. Do you have NQ levels? It's in there. Go up to last week. Go up to last week, you'll see them. Iceberg meaning unfilled orders? Yes and no. Yes and no. So icebergs are unfilled orders, but they are a representation of a programmed strategy where whoever's placing those orders into their broker does not want to doesn't want to present the entire order. So it only presents a portion of the order. ARCA's getting smoked today. Will they go long on? Nice little move down. NASDAQ, maybe 15,190. All right. So slight move back off. Let's see what's going to happen here. ES is 44.37 refresh. I'm treating these dips as a buy the dip situation on Meta. Yeah, until I see a strong VPA signal, I'm still looking for that range, 305, 323 on Meta, and maybe we'll put on a position there. Geo, what are you doing there? Gap down from 862 to 847. Consolidating sideways. All my other guys aren't really moving. Bottom wick right there on S&P. So we have a 15-minute signal. Top wick, increased volume. The buyers are responding. So the follow-on candle right here is important. If this thing closes bearish, I'm going to look to take a at-the-money put to the downside. If this thing hammers back up here and wipes this liquidity, I'll look for 44.50 on ES before anything else. But this follow-on candle is important. Meanwhile, Microsoft is still down. Apple is getting smoked on back down. Meta is coming off here as well. So tech is leading the way down here. XLF still not feeling any pain. So if the financial sector rolls, just like this morning with the inverse, we'll be looking for a follow-on play there. In terms of Bookmap, shifting liquidity or 44.37, we still have an open active iceberg, 44.45. These are my upside targets. Oh, no, you're good, Nancy. Absolutely. Let me know if I can help. Meta broke 289 resistance yesterday. Now we expect retracement from 280, 298 to 290 to continuation to upside the next few days. Yeah. We'll see what they do with this threads thing. Bottom wick so far. NASDAQ is holding 15,200. Looks like just a temporary retracement. So the bulls are hitting this thing back up, so no short yet. This is just a little retracement on back up here. So even on a 15-minute signal, you have to wait for the follow-on. And this is why. Hammered. 15,240 on NASDAQ here. Buying back up. Hammering on NASDAQ. So they just doubled down liquidity on 44.50, so that looks like a liquidity grab, especially with that iceberg higher. 44.50 on a year ES. NASDAQ just doubled down on 15,240. They removed, you see the couple little bit of liquidity wipe here. Nothing lower. They took off this guy. They brought this on down, and they filled to 15,240 up top here. They have this small iceberg on NASDAQ. ES has 1,600 at 44.45 and 44.50, and easily getting hammered back here. So no shorts yet. There's no signs of shorting here. Just ride this baby up until 44.50. Green candles, 44.42. $44.43. There goes NASDAQ as well. And watch this 44.45, then to 44.50. What do you may wait for the follow one? So when I'm tracking this type of move, I get the move up. I get the inverse hammer under increased volume. That's set up for a reversal. That's a reversal setup. But you can't execute on that because this could be just a liquidity grab, high volume, price action after rejecting off S1. So you have to wait for this candle. So we had a nice little red, but the buyers immediately hammer this. So this tells me that there's still a ton of buyers on this chart. Very little sellers, ton of buyers, right on back up into S1. So if you use this 3-candle pattern, it'll keep you from chasing moves and just being very patient. Because if I were to chase that move based on this, you'd be in underwater position right now. So it's all that 3-candle. You get the first one, the initiation, and then the follow-through candle. Very misleading setup because you have a strong volume top wick rejection at a resistance. But the buyers are still on the tape, and that's what this candle does. Now we're going even higher, 44.50. All that did is wipe the slate clean of sellers. So now there's no more sellers here until the next target, which is 44.50. And then once we hit 44.50, we'll look at this again. What is your philosophy on collecting profits from sold premium? I started buying back the positions once the short side goes about 10 cents. If it's a multi-days until expiration, then reset tighter to the strike. It's so much more time and price movement to squeeze out last 10 cents, but it'll make. Well, with me, it's all based on my risk assessment of the market. So I look at myself as a premium farmer. A new afternoon high on ES, by the way, hammered higher. Sorry about that. So I look at myself as a farmer. Like I don't try to squeeze out the full premium. I'm trying to place on premium that from a probability standpoint is going to pay myself. And so I'll put on the premium and then I'm watching based on the charts. Now it's all about risk management as well. If I could squeeze out a little bit here and there, I will. But for the most part, I will juice as much as I can out of this premium where theta starts taking effect, and then I'll remove the risk profile. I'll reduce my risk profile into the end of the week, especially if we're having a little crazy action. So now you can, if you are doing and for what you're talking about there, I would really wait unless you're doing only premium writing, because that's a very hands-on approach, which is just fine. But I'm not worried about squeezing out 10 cents. My philosophy is I want to play some income generation and then augment my traditional trading. Now, if I'm doing primarily premium writing, then I'm gonna straddle this thing all day long. I will oscillate this moves off up and down to squeeze out as much premium as I can, which is what I call efficient pricing. But that's not my current strategy. Now, 2 years ago, I was doing a lot of premium running, which was my primary bread and butter. And instead of like power hour, for example, instead of scalping long options in power hour, I was scalping short options because you can get 100% negative. You can get 100% decay on an option or 95% decay in a couple of seconds on the power hour, which is great for collecting those little bitty premiums. You could sell a quick $1 premium, decays to 5 cents in about 30 seconds, if that. You can collect some quick premium on that. Obviously, you need to be correct. That goes without saying. But yeah. Premium cultivator. That's right. That's right. So I would look for this thing now, the Transact 4450, as we have now wiped the sellers from this chart, and refresh up to 4450. Not to mention, we got this guy right here. They just filled yet another 3,000 iceberg. That's the third one of the day. The third individual 3,000 order block of the day. 4450 is next side target. TLT is coming back off holding 99. And y'all realize, man, I keep things very simple. Very, very simple. The simpler I make things, the more profitable I am. All right, right up here, just came back up here, transacted 44.45, now going to 44.50. Having a little trouble getting through S1 so far, but just give it time. Red candles. All right. VIX is still rolling off 1548. If they flip VIX back to red, it's all green tomorrow. If they kill the VIX again after being up 20%, it's all green tomorrow. I know the VIX still has a long way to go, but be aware because they've already rolled it off 11%. All right. 15,443. All right, holding S1 here. A little checkup right here. But you see the liquidity. We have the SVP for profile, the SVP POC shift upwards here. They're not putting on anything upside. So my upside target here is 44.50 after wiping out this iceberg. They're not putting on anything lower. NASDAQ still has this guy way up here at 15,275. But all we got here is 44.50. Bottom wick back up. Very slow stuff here. Maybe the long trigger? Yeah. Especially now that they wiped this out. That's what that was, liquidity grab. And this does look like it's going to ping higher. That will be a new high of the day as well. And now we'll start eating some pre-market action. Top wick back up. I'm far more comfortable trading puts since I got into this during the start of the bear market. Now it's possible bull market game needs to be completely reevaluated. Yeah, we're not in a bull market. This is just bull cycle. So I wouldn't worry. If you're talking about the overall theme, then the more important issue is identifying cycles, identifying the bull cycle, identifying the bear cycle, and playing to those. If you have a knack for trading puts, you got a leg up on some other people. It's very difficult to play downside movement because it's a little bit erratic. All right, bottom wick back up, green candles. NASDAQ is heading higher as well, and so NASDAQ has now made up all of that little retracement, as did the S&P, and we're about to pop S1 and go higher. And the reason why it's harder to play downside is because of this stuff right here. That's why it's so important to follow volume, because this was a very slow, mitigated move downward under very, very light volume, which is not something we normally see on retracement. So it's no surprise that we've checkmark recovered here, V recovered based on the session. And if you don't really understand that, then you're going to get blown out because you're going to get very much FOMO looking, oh, here it is, big dip, 2%, 3% red day today, only to be bounced upon. And now you're in this shorting mindset, so you start shorting all these moves, and now you turn a pretty successful morning and you're getting destroyed instead of just longing because you're not tracking volume. So if you could track volume, and especially throw in Bookmap and trap liquidity, then you could identify when we're going to pivot. And then, of course, you track London Open, which for some reason today on Twitter, everybody thinks that the London Open is some proprietary secret information. It's like, bro, it's London Open, just play to it. So track London Open 11:30, track the liquidity, track the volume, and then ride this baby up. The algorithms are very clear at the moment. It's very much up. We had our first instance of rejection here, immediately bought up and got higher. And now we're going to come up in 44.50 on ES. NASDAQ is probably going to do the same thing and come up to 12.275 or 15.275. 15.275 would wipe out most of the pre-market loss, and I would say that that's where it's going. So just be aware. And if that happens and VIX continues to sell off, tomorrow is going to be a very green day. Not to mention it's Friday. We typically have a trend on Fridays. At least lately, the past couple of months we've have. Oh, you're welcome, Quint. You're welcome. Still holding. So now we're consolidating right here, right at S1. I read for S1, hold the line. So far, it's holding perfectly. It's holding perfectly so far. Look at that. Let's see what happens. $44.44. So, kind of what we're seeing here is this price action, which is kind of up here. It's starting to kind of do this number here where the auction is getting ready to occur to the next side. It's kind of doing this where it starts to level off right into resistance. And we're looking for the volume influx again because the volume, again, we had a small spike here, but now the volume is trickling back off again. And now, obviously, I'm on the 15-minute chart, but this is where we're looking for the next auction to occur because just like down here, we had the move down. You see the price action do the opposite. It kind of did this number where it kind of flattened out. So now we come down here is because now it's reached the point where the sellers dried up. The buyers came in and said, all right, that's low enough. They hit it. Now we're doing the exact opposite. The buyers came into this area. They've got liquidity shifted higher to 44.50 and after filling another 3,000 order. And now it's the seller's turn to come back into the frame and say, all right, is this high enough? Is this high enough where I want to start shorting? Or the buyer said, is this high enough where I want to start taking profit? And they close this position off. So this is where we're doing. Now we're occurring auction. That's why at resistance here, let me delete all this crap. 1 second. Delete, 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 delete. That is why up until this point, there's been no red because this is transition. This is the journey. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. Well, you get all green here. Now that we've come into resistance, now you see the auction occurring. This is auction. This is the imbalance. This is the auction, if you know the difference. So imbalance is formed with a one-sided tape. So one-sided tape is all buyers. Now we come into the auction, and now the sellers enter the tape. That's why you see sellers here. And that's why you do not see sellers here. It's an imbalance, just like the opposite here. Auction occurred here. What happened here? An auction occurred, and the buyers figured out, nah, this is not low enough. I don't want to buy here. So the sellers come back in, create an imbalance lower, and now another auction occurs. The buyers start to enter the tape, so that's low enough, and now the buyers hit the tape all the way back up, imbalance, and auction occurs. The market, all the market is an auction house. It's supply and demand that goes from balance to imbalance, auction to imbalance. That's all it is, over and over and over and over and over again. And it's our job to figure out where it happens. That's why it's so important to track volume. That's why it's so important to track pivots, because those two things. Now, I have a good knack for tracking pivots. That's why these things work so well. But other than that, you could form them. They're not all that difficult to form. It just takes a little attention to detail. Just another Monday detail, Michael. And then, of course, you throw in liquidity, and that makes things a little bit easier. Green back up. There it is, new high, blast. Hold the line up here, 44.50, Hodor. New high of the day on ES, so that just broke the high of the day there. Now we're coming into pre-market levels, and going up to 44.50. NASDAQ is going to make a move up here 12.30 and most likely going to 15.275. Right there. Barely through S1 finally. A couple of bottom wicks going to 44.50 on ES. And first target is 15.236. After that, we have up here 15.277. But you see how they came down and wiped out the sellers? When I see this move right here, that is a sign to go long. That is a sign that we're moving higher to 44.50. And that's what happened. So you have the follow-on candle that gets hammered. Now refresh to 44.50. 44.50 is the next decision. If we get through, because I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if this is going up to R2. But all I can do is place cycle to cycle. The next cycle now completes at 44.50. I need to see where liquidity shifts at 44.50. Once we transact that, I can make the next decision and go on from there. All right. Don't fight the trend. Not until the pivots, no. All right, move higher there through S1. Oh, that's top of the hour. Dang it. Well, unfortunately, I have to call it an afternoon. That's my hour allotted for the Bookmap stream. But hope y'all learned a little something how I adjust through this. So the next target, 44.50. Watch ES on 44.50 before going to the next move. 44.50 is top on ES with nothing higher. They're starting to trickle a little bit higher, but that's still not significant until we wipe 44.50. So until next time, I'll see you next Thursday, 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Eastern, at 12 p.m. Central Time. I will see y'all next week. I appreciate y'all hanging out. I'm out. See you.